Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. So today we continue our look at Calistarius and the Blood Angels and the mysterious Blood Angel they have found aboard the Space Hulk. Now this is part 2, so if you missed the first upload, be sure to go back and check that out before continuing on with this one. Before I begin today, a big thank you to Scott for the virtual gift voucher. I really appreciate it, thank you very much. And thank you very much for the kind words and being a subscriber from the very start. Number 11. It's amazing to think how far this channel has come in such a short time. But again, thank you very much for your support and the gift voucher. I truly appreciate it. Now, the events we are going to be discussing today are from the novel Sin of Damnation by Gav Thorpe. I'll put a link in the description as always. And like I always say, I really recommend you read the novel for yourself first, as that's how you get the most enjoyment out of it. For yourself. Not only that, but we help to support Games Workshop and the Black Library, because without them we simply don't have this great lore to talk about. But with that said, let's jump straight in. Now, when we left off, Calistarius had just voxed Captain Raphael, requesting further time on the Space Hulk to investigate the situation, going over the command of Sergeant Dionysus, and for his trouble he has been granted an extra 5 more minutes. The Vox link broke into static for a couple of seconds and then went quiet. Another few seconds passed before Dionysus spoke up. "You circumnavigated the chain of command, brother," the sergeant growled, advancing back along the corridor towards Calistarius. "You are placing yourself and our battle brothers in great danger. We cannot hold this position for 5 minutes if the Gene Stealers attack. I urge you to reconsider." "I will not, brother sergeant," said Calistarius. "I cannot. I am prepared to wager our 6 lives against the 90 more that will be risked should the second wave be launched." "Your 5 minutes have already begun," the sergeant said, pointing at Vespersario with his power sword. "Use the time wisely." The librarian said nothing as he returned to Vespersario's inert form. He was about to slip into his mind when the sound of Stormbolter fire resounded across his auto-sensors. Several blurs of light on the Allspecs had detached themselves from the mass holding back and were moving around the perimeter. Brother Santiago's report crackled over the Vox. 2 targets eliminated, 3 more incoming. Another longer burst of fire. Eliminated. The sensor readings show their probing movements receding for the moment, moving back to the outer corridors and decks above and below. Sergeant Dionysus stopped beside Calistarius. "Scouting attacks. Let us hope they do not realise our numbers are so small before the second wave arrives." I like the subtle way there. You can tell Dionysus is not happy about what Calistarius has done, but he's not going to go over the chain of command himself. He knows his duty and he will stick to it, despite the librarian's actions. Into Vespersario's mind Calistarius peers and is immediately assailed by visions of Sanguinius aboard the Vengeful Spirit, making his way through the horrors aboard. Now, this short story was written back in 2014, so we can expect some differences when we finally get to this point in the Siege of Terra series, but it's largely as you'd expect. Their progress is slow, being assailed by demons, and even the ship itself as it contorts itself into different shapes, separating the Blood Angels from their Primarch one by one, until only 6 of them remain at their father's side. And then the Sons of Horus come, but Sanguinius will not be deterred and he hacks his way through them, not motivated by anger or rage, but merely the desire to free his sons from this hell. And then as quickly as it came, the vision moves to Vespersario's own past and his own experiences aboard the Space Hulk, combating the very Gene Stealers Calistarius now faces, and he discovers hybrids they have not yet seen. Retracting from his mind of the hall of Vespersario's thoughts, Calistarius passed on this vital piece of intelligence. "Those are not scouting attacks," responded Dionysus. "The Gene Stealers are attempting to lock us into position while their hybrids bring heavy weapons to bear. The tactical situation is not improving, brother librarian. We need a mobile defense or we will make easy targets. A minute, no longer, Calistarius told him. I have almost found out what happened to the previous boarding party. I sense that if I can locate his memories of what happened on the bridge, we shall know what we are facing. 60 seconds, no more. Calistarius nodded and focused his thoughts. The extension of his thoughts into the other Blood Angel became a lance of burning energy, drilling down through Vespasario's psyche into the pulsing core of his memories, shredding everything else in the vicinity. After the black rage and so long in suspended animation, Vespasario no longer possessed anything close to a rational mind. Only good grace had stopped Calistarius being so blunt before. Growling and snarling, feeling the black rage seeping into his soul, Calistarius opened himself up to the weight of Vespasario's experiences, allowing everything to flood in. Fighting against the tide of pain and anger, the librarian ripped free what he needed, raw and bleeding like a heart torn, still beating from the chest. And once more Calistarius plunges into the mind of Vespasario and witnesses the rage of Sanguinius facing down the War Master, Horus himself. Toe to toe they go at it, Sanguinius all the while ignoring the taunts and offers of immortality and power from his fallen brother, before finally piercing his brother's side with his sword. And then back to Vespasario as they burst onto the bridge of the Space Hulk and encounter a Gene Stealer Patriarch. And not just any Patriarch, a huge Patriarch seemingly mingled with Cult Mechanicus technology. He takes up virtually all of the bridge, but then it also possesses the Navigator's third eye. Those gene strains bred into the aliens again and again through new human hosts, attempting to perfect with random mutation what ancient Terra's scientists had constructed in laboratories and given final form in the Navigator Patriarch. For centuries it has moved across the galaxy, emerging from the warp using the resonance of humanity's faults, guided to populated worlds and drifting starships, dropping back into the warp to trap aboard those who have come to investigate and conquer. An ancient ship, a treasure vault of archaeotech and lost knowledge, so powerful that not even the Blood Angels would destroy it out of hand. The perfect guise. The perfect law for adepts of the machine god, ecclesiarchy missionaries, imperial servants of all ranks and divisions, ensnared by the false promise of glory and bounty. Worse still is the glimpse of the future, the desired path of the omen of despair, its ultimate destination arrived at from the desires and memories of 100,000 victims of the brood, a planet teeming with life. Billions upon billions, and at its heart, a mind so powerful that it broadcasts a beacon across the galaxy. The Astronomicon, light of the Emperor, the guiding path followed by navigators for 10,000 years. Entrenched into the most fundamental genetics of the brood, an imperative that drives everything they do. A return home to Terra. Man, the Gene Stealers have bred with the DNA of navigators to help navigate to Terra itself. The Gene Stealers' ultimate goal to reach and infect Terra itself. With all the memories and knowledge of the victims they find, closer and closer they are travelling to Terra. It's only a matter of time until they reach the homeworld itself, a thought so chilling to Vespasario that he erupts in rage. He manages to cling on to the one thought just enough to realise he needs to leave a message for his chapter, to stop the Gene Stealers from fulfilling their plan. And so, wounding the Patriarch with a bolt shell from his Stormbolter, he turns and fights his way from the bridge. In fury, he hacks his way through any Gene Stealers that stand before him, fueled by the fury of his Gene Sire. His wounds are already great. He knows his time is limited. running deeper into the Space Hulk, closing every door behind him in an attempt to stall the enemy, until he doesn't even know where he's ended up. But finally he finds himself in the magazine room, the Gene Stealers hacking away fruitlessly at the solid, unbreachable door. His last moments of life seeping away as he succumbs completely to the rage, but he has the satisfaction at least of knowing he is sealing the truth away with him, a message of hope to the rest of his chapter. And so Calistarius has all the knowledge he needs. They have no time to waste. The Gene Stealer Patriarch must die, and he must die now. And so the Blood Angels immediately head for the bridge. The Gene Stealers caught completely by surprise at the sudden rapid assault of the Blood Angels. Calistarius leading the charge himself, hacking his way through the Xenos before bursting onto the bridge in front of the abomination that is the Navigator Patriarch itself. He felt the same timeless void of the brood, as old as the stars, impossibly distant and ancient, reborn through 1,000,000 generations since a beginning in another galaxy, the tiniest fragment of a much greater whole yearning to be reunited, forever devoured by inner emptiness. The rage boiled up inside him and he seized hold of the psychic connection, pouring wrath and scorn into his foe without relent. Physically and psychically, the Patriarch thrashed to break free, emitting an unearthly wail as 10,000 years of grief and desire for vengeance were made manifest in its mind. It burned like fire, turning alien intelligence to ash, searing through the hypnotic lure of the brood, leaping from one Gene Stealer to the next like a plague, infecting their thoughts with alien anger and hatred so intense that they fell upon each other in their desire to rend and kill. Claws as hard as titanium closed on his armour, cracking ceramite, puncturing fibre bundles, pushing closer and closer to his gene-enhanced flesh and bones. He saw not a bizarre hybrid of alien and machine, but the very image of treachery. The thrice-cursed War Master, Horus the Betrayer, the architect of ruin. Calistarius lunged as Sanguinius had lunged, reincarnated as the Lord of the Blood Angels, the saviour of Baal. His sword pressed into the wound caused by Vespersario's Stormbolter, sliding deep into the Patriarch's innards, parting nerve bundles and piercing its pulmonary organs. With a last twitch of muscle, the Patriarch tossed Calistarius across the bridge. The librarian lost his grip on his sword, leaving it lodged in the thorax of the alien monster. Ichor spewed from the wound, splashing onto the deck, bubbling with escaping air. The Patriarch Navigator's third eye flopped to its face, the psychic light within dimming to nothing. Its chest collapsed with a wheeze of expulsed breath, and it fell still. In disarray at the loss of their brood leader, the Gene Stealers were easy prey for the vengeful Blood Angels. Calistarius was content to let the First Company purge the omen of despair, and allowed himself to be escorted back to the breaching zone by Sergeant Dionysus. "I would think you would be in a more celebratory mood," the sergeant said as they arrived at the outer perimeter. "I'm tired. Very tired," explained Calistarius. It was true. He felt a fatigue the like of which he had never known before, drawn out by physical exertion, psychic combat and, most of all, the harrowing ordeal of sharing Vespersario's black rage-induced warp memories. But it was more than exhaustion that quietened Calistarius. Something altogether more disturbing occupied his thoughts. It was a moment, a passing vision that had entered his mind at the instant he had unleashed the black rage into the thoughts of the Patriarch. He was not sure if it were one of Vespersario's cursed hallucinations, an actual memory from the Terminator's ordeal 200 years before, or something else far more dangerous, a glimpse of something yet to happen. His instinct told him it was the latter. For a fraction of a second, Calistarius had felt himself entombed, buried in a vast mausoleum, gripped by a terrible thirst for blood, shrieking for release, enslaved to the curse of the Black Rage. Man, what a great little story that was. First of all, Calistarius inflicting the feelings of the Black Rage into the brood of Gene Stealers. Gene Stealers are tough enough, let alone when they are afflicted with Black Rage. Luckily they decided to tear themselves apart. As I said, a great story, even if it was any librarian character, but even more so when we are looking at the history of such a major player like Mephiston. And that final haunting passage, a vision of his future to come as he succumbs to the Black Rage himself, entombed beneath the rubble. Oh man, absolutely awesome. I can't wait for his new model, but again, you really thoroughly enjoyed this story. But as always, what did you guys think? We know the Tyranids have always been heading for Terra, but the average Space Marine probably has no idea that that kind of intelligence lies within the hive mind. So for Vespersario to encounter that, it probably really was a real shock to him that the Gene Stealers have that kind of knowledge to orchestrate a plan over the course of hundreds of years to lead them to Terra. And again, Calistarius inflicting the Gene Stealers with the Black Rage. Wow, I was not expecting that one. As always, drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love to read them and interact with them. A huge thank you to all my subscribers. Your support really means a lot to me. It truly does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. If you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.